this thing. I'm in banking, and he's working on products there. So he knows the entire end-to-end cycle, and he can
Correct.
guide us through. And I think Nitin, correct me if I'm wrong, but you have said or you have agreed that in case anyone is more interested or something, you can hold multiple sessions too.
For sure.
So immediately I'll jump at it because I think I'm handling a course right now at Wellington, and some of my students might be on this. I don't know if they're there.
Oh, from Wellington, New Zealand?
Wellington. No, Wellington Institute of Management in Bombay.
Oh, okay.
So we are part of that, and there are students interested in making a career in IT, and one of the topics is product management. So that's why I'd asked them to join. I hope they join, but they may have other sessions going on, so I wouldn't know.
Sure.
But if you could come in at some stage, where you could do a couple of sessions for them on product management, that would be nice. I'll reach out to you later.
Sure, not a problem.
But
Should
I
I
think we
kick
are
off?
ready to start. Yes, we have 45, so we've crossed our imagined target. So
Wow.
Yeah. Nitin, just to slightly introduce yourself to
yes,
start
yeah.
with.
So
Sure.
before that, let me formally welcome all the participants on behalf of IIBA Mumbai chapter, and thank you for joining. This is, I think, in a series of sessions that we've been holding during this COVID period, and I think it makes it far more easier to get people from all across the world and learn from different experience, largely because of the sudden rapid transformation to digital that's happened. And I really want to welcome Nitin for joining us, and I think look forward to listening to him on this relatively new topic from my standpoint. So over to you, Nitin, and thanks Swami for all the help. And Swami is our backbone for IIBA all over India, and he's supporting all the chapters and us particularly. And Meenakshi has been actually driving a lot of activities at the chapter. So all yours, Nitin. And I must thank Priyanka. She spoke, so that's why I didn't mention. But she's the one who introduced us to Nitin. Thank you.
Thanks, Pradeep
Thank
sir.
you.
So first of all, I have to say a huge, I'm really grateful to be here. And so thank you, Pradeep sir, Meenakshi, Priyanka, obviously, and Swami, and to all the participants who have joined. So a little bit about me. I'm also Indian. I grew up in Bangalore. So, just you get a little bit more personal with me. We came with my mom and dad. We came here to New Zealand back in '96. So yeah, I did my schooling here. I did my uni here. I've worked in product field as well, and I did my master's here as well. And I'm passionate about products. So my background has been with working with product in product-based companies, basically. So you can basically imagine startups in New Zealand. So I've worked in fintech startups. I've worked in a retail-based startup called Vend, and I've worked in a transport in the transport sector as well, where this startup in New Zealand has created hardware for trucks. So that's a short background. My wife, she's a Marathi as well. She actually came from Pune to New Zealand almost 7 or 8 years ago, and and my wife is in engineering, so that's a good mix, right? Product and engineering. I have a huge passion in this field. So right now, you may have heard Priyanka said that I'm on a mission. I'm really on a mission because let's face it, COVID is hitting everyone hard, and I really want to help at least 1,000 people to get into this product field if they really are wanting to make the shift. Whether you're in a service-based company and you want to get into product, or whether you just want to learn more about product and you're a BA and want to get into product. And you can see here some of my other certifications. One of the things I want to point out is when I was working at Vend, I was really, really lucky and blessed to we got a 2-day or 2 to 3 day training from a San Francisco based product company who would work with Netflix and the likes. And so, we learned a lot about product management. So yeah, so today's class, or I guess you could say session, is really to go through what it is to be a product owner in a product-based company. And before I start, I want to ask how many of the participants are either in service-based or product-based. So if we could, is there a way that participants could let us know? So I can, I can either touch base more on service or product-based questions, and as I go through it.
Maybe you can put it on the chat saying yes, 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 or something like that. So
yeah, that should be fine. Yeah.
I don't think we have set up a survey kind of a thing.
Yeah, there's a chat service-based. Okay, so yeah. Yeah, good stuff. I can see them coming. I'll just do a quick percentage. Okay. Looks like there's a mix. There's, yeah, quite a lot of service-based, BA, service-based. Okay, there are a few product-based. Okay. Well, that's good to know. Keep them coming, and I will keep that in mind. So it looks like majority is service-based. There are a few product-based. Okay, that's good. It's good to know. Thank you. Thank you so much. So let me get into it. So the agenda today, the first part is really about what it feels like to be a product owner in a product-based, you could say company, and actually having a product. So I'm going to give you an example. I'm actually going to place you as a participant in a product owner role in this example, so so you understand, and then talk about user stories and what product owners do. And what the responsibilities and the outputs are from a product owner to create really good user stories, and how that differs to what happens in a traditional BA role. Product vision. So product owner and product management, they're really, these days, if you work for Netflix, you'll probably be in a product manager role, but a lot of the product-based companies like, Apple, Microsoft, it really doesn't matter, any SaaS product that you look out there, they really need someone to articulate the product vision. So we'll go through that. And then the product roadmap. How do you then take the vision, and then how do you create a roadmap for your product? And then by that time, you'll get an understanding what is the difference between product owner versus product management as well. So that's the agenda. Let's go to it. So what I usually like to do is I like to have a setting. So what this means is, like, imagine you yourself, you're a product owner in a, let's say, a made up company called Money Bank Limited, right? And you have a product, and that's a mobile banking application for, let's say, it's 100,000 users. They're using it. It's available in Android and Google. Yeah, so let's say it's, sorry, that should say iOS. Yeah, so let's say Android and iOS. And let's say you have a team of engineers, right? That you're working with, and they're working on the product as well. And you've got solutions. So your mobile banking app has, being able to view the account balance, transactions, transfer funds. The setting is important because, so when you have the setting, what is your team? So let's say you've got a team of engineers, right? So you've got your product, you've got your team, you've got your, you've got your team. Then what are you responsible with this team? So as a product owner / product manager in a product-based company, it's really important to articulate the vision for the team. It's also important to provide them with documentation and analysis, and that's where the BA aspect comes in. Usually in a traditional BA role, you'd just be focusing on, UML diagrams, system flow diagrams, but as a product person, you need to be able to do part of that as well, and be the subject matter expert of your product, be able to prioritize the product backlog. So we'll go through what a product backlog is as well. Monitor the product usage. So you've got this app, there's 100,000 users, but how are you taking the feedback from them, and how are you going to improve it, and what's actually happening on a day-to-day basis. And then balance product enhancements with technical debt. So yeah, you will have situations where the app may not be built properly, or you need to re-architect and re-platform, and the engineers and your engineering team will come to you, and you need to be able to balance that with new features, right? That's roughly 70% of the role, if that makes sense. Then you have your organization, right? So your wider organization. So think about your head of marketing, your IT ops lead, your head of product, and say head of customer service, who's out, on phone calls and meeting customers and kind of taking that. So what's the role? I guess, how is it relevant for the organization? it's really about collaborating with, peers and backlog items and dependencies. So you're actually collaborating with all these different people on probably, weekly, monthly basis to work on backlog items that they may have ideas for, or you may want to engage them with. Then you've got to work with your IT ops to do delivery of releases, documentation for customer service, and then contributing to product roadmap, and then also delivering presentations to the wider company. So that's roughly 30% of the role. So in a product-based company, with that example, with your immediate team and organization, these are the kind of things that you're going to be doing, if that makes sense. So keep your questions in mind. We'll come to Q&A at the end. So yeah, I know you'll have. So the first thing is user stories, right? So what are the responsibilities and outputs for a product owner? And user stories are nothing but they make up the product backlog, and you may be using tools like Jira to maintain a list of items, right? It's and from a product point of view, it's really important for you to own the user stories to full detail. So you're not only building out each user story, but you're also building it out over time to build a backlog. So you can see here, backlog has some high-level epics on the right, and you'll have actual user stories. And the granularity will become more detailed at the top of the backlog, and then it'll become less detailed at the bottom of the backlog, because from a priority point of view, you're going to be working from the top to the bottom. And that also reflects time. So that's your backlog. But your user stories from a product point of view, from the experience that I've had with working with startups, you've got to be creating really relevant solutions, and really quickly as well. How do you get your team to work on user stories? So you've got to be responsible for filling out the description, and then also you've got to be responsible for the user experience. So it'll depend on the skill. So you might, if you're more technical, and let's say you have SQL, you've got some SQL knowledge, you've got more of a technical bent, that's okay. But you might also be more on the users, focus on the user side. So you may understand what users want, and that's also good too. So you need to have a bit of both. You may have heard this before in the BA land, like cucumber or gherkin statement. So like you have a scenario, then you have a given when then. So the product person's really responsible for detailing these number of user stories out, right? So I'll go through an example, and then also adding background, supporting data, designs and dependencies. So that's you working with other people in the organization to understand, to get relevant information for the user stories that you come up with. So let's say, with this app that we were talking about, let's say you have a user story or you have a user requirement, talk about requirements. These are kind of similar. Let's say there's a requirement to personalize the account with a custom image, right? So you've got your app, and what people want to do is they want to take a photo of their dog, or they want to take a photo of themselves, and they want to put that in the icon of their check account or savings account. So you need to be able to, as a product person, really define that really well, write out the given when then statements, but then also work with your user experience people and come up with, work with them on the designs and the wireframes, but then also do further analysis to see what are the technical dependencies. So you don't need to flesh it out to get proper user stories. So I've touched it at a high level. I've given you another example there, adding additional options in the login screen. So these are like at the feature level, at the low level, detail level, like the product owner is really responsible for creating a really nice experience. Not so much doing the UX, but it's about writing good user stories as you would as a BA, right? I'm sure in the traditional BA land, you're quite more detailed into this. Actually, you're probably going further down, and you're probably writing flows, and you're writing kind of start and end flows and diagrams and things like that. That's also necessary. So if let's say if there was a more complicated user story, so you would need to do that. So there is an aspect of a BA role in the product owner role. So I wanted to touch on user stories because that's really important, and that's a quick summary. So keep your questions in mind for that as well. Then I wanted to go into product vision. Actually, I'll just stop there. Am I doing okay? Am I going too fast? I just want to know. Let me just go into chat. Just give me a thumbs up if I'm going at the right speed. If the majority can follow me. Okay, great. Thank you.
Yes.
That's great. Okay, cool. So I'll move on to product vision. So as a product owner and a product manager in a product-based company, right? So in a service-based company, you're usually told kind of like what to do, and then you're just gonna go have to do. But in a product-based company, you don't know, right? So let's say you're working for Spotify. I'm sure many of you use Spotify, and you know the management come and say, okay, we need a new product out there, and you go, oh, really? I have no idea what to do. So product vision is important. So then how do you go about building a product vision? It's actually not that hard. You just need to go out and seek customer feedback, right? So you need to be in touch with your users, your end users, even outside to people that have never used your product. And you need to get feedback and on the existing product. And then you also need to, there will be some invalid customer feedback. So even people close to your friends will say, hey, what you know, this the product could have this idea, that idea, but you need to validate them. So not everything is going to be good, valid feedback. Most importantly, you have your immediate team, and they're going to have amazing ideas. So your team of engineers or even your team of product people will have ideas. You have stakeholders. So earlier we spoke about the organization. So you need to go out and reach out to your stakeholders in your organization, seek out feedback and opinions, and pull them in and come up with a shared vision. So let me give you an example. So let's say you get, you have this banking app and you have 200,000 or 100,000 users, right? And feedback is, app doesn't load on my phone, right? That's one feedback. Okay, that's great. There might be metric to say that the account balance load time is 3 seconds, right? Your marketing manager might say, okay, there's 500,000 users. We want to get to 500,000 users by 2021. Engineering manager says, oh, we want to build it on world-class infrastructure. And so there are things that help the vision. So things like really good product metrics, company vision statements as well, engineering, marketing goals, target markets, legal aspects. And there are things that don't really help the vision. So actually, I should probably minimize that. Yeah, competitors, looking at your competitors, that's not going to help because they'll be off on a different tangent. Customer wish lists, customers usually don't know what they're talking about. Sometimes their ideas won't make sense, is what I meant to say. Yeah, internal ideas may not be that great. So then what happens out of all this kind of feedback, you really need to align your team to a product vision in a product-based company. Because think about it, they're an expensive resource. You are building out a product. You don't want it to be on the left here where, each one of your member of your team is kind of thinking differently and is not really aligned and they're building different things, right? You want them all to be aligned. Essentially, the responsibility of both, say, product owner or a product manager is to come up with a vision like this. So what you can see here is you can see themes at the top. So scalability being a theme, user experience being a theme, multiple platforms, innovation. So you might want, after feedback, you realize from a technical point of view, you really need to, your vision is to scale to 500,000 users for this app, right? That could be a really good vision. So you ensure it's scalable and it reaches high quality, ratings, 5-star ratings on the Play Store, right? User experience could be good. So you want it to have world-class user experience. You want to deliver a seamless experience that they love. You also, maybe you want to have an iOS app if you haven't got it out there. So you want to do that sometime in the future. Then maybe later on you want to add banking features like Google Pay. So the experience of me going to a store vendor and just swiping my phone and I can pay, right? So that's, it's concrete, it's strategic, it's got a good path. Then what happens is you can lead your team to that vision. So they're aligned, right? You share that with the team, and as we spoke before, that you're also getting some input from the team. So yeah, the vision's really important. One step down is the roadmap. So you can keep a high level vision, like Elon Musk. He says, he wants to go to Mars and he wants to transform Mars, and he wants, okay, that's a vision, but you really need to come down to, okay, what are we doing next month and the month after to execute the vision? So product owners, there's huge product owner responsibility here. So earlier we spoke about user stories in the backlog. So this informs your product roadmap. So you've got this, you understand your list of items, it's prioritized, you've got your user stories, that's great. But how are you going to create a roadmap that maps to this vision, right? So then what you do, again, the most important person in the organization at this stage is actually your head of product. So there will be a product head of product, VP of product. That's the person that you need to collaborate with to define, work with an ad board, in this case, to define the vision and the intermediate roadmap. And what that could look like is something like this, right? With timeline and with, actually specific things. So you need to hold multiple sessions with product managers and product people, dependencies, and then to come up with a, kind of a lower level roadmap that's timeline based, right? So in this case here in this roadmap, even though we had a vision of like Apple Pay way in the future, just for this year, we're just going to look at scalability and maybe just parts of the user experience. And that way you're in control. Your team is in control. They know what they're doing now to get to the vision, right? So the product roadmap is really important because that's going to help to get to the product vision. So in a product-based company, this is really, really, really important. And again, the product owner's responsibility to own this roadmap and work with the team to make sure that they are putting the right things in the backlog to achieve this in the right quarter, and then communicating back to the company. Let me see, how am I going for time? 22. Okay, that's cool. Then now we've come to, now that you've got user stories and you've got the vision and you've got the backlog, the difference between product owner and product manager comes up. And essentially, look, I want to give you some insight on how this industry is moving and where it's moving to. So many of the companies in Silicon Valley, even in India, I'm sure, anywhere around the world, there's one role, there's a product manager role. And if you're a startup, like the size of say 50, 100, you're expected to do BA, product owner, and PM. And then if you're immediately thinking, oh my God, that's a lot of work, it is a lot of work and there's no way around it. But when you get to a bigger organization from 500 to 1,000, usually you'll have many product owners or you'll have many BAs working alongside the product people, and they'll have specified responsibilities. The BAs will be responsible for the user stories and working with the team and delivery, and where the product owners and managers will, it's just a different mindset. And I don't like to think of hierarchies. Essentially, it's a different mindset. When I was interviewed for a product manager role, at least here in New Zealand, startups, they were like, okay, what's your mindset? What do you think of, what does a product mean to you? And what do you think of when you see a user on the road or user, your friend? Because from a BA point of view, you're thinking flows, and that's a good mindset to have, right? And you're thinking at the detail level. But from a product point of view, you need to be thinking completely differently, like what's the vision, and how can I get feedback, how can I communicate? It's the people skills, as well as kind of writing user stories, but it just requires a different mindset. So the product owner in this case is important, it's really important to work with the team, like we said, and write user stories and to do all the some of that BA work as well. But then equally important to come up with the backlog, a really good backlog, and a roadmap. And and there's stakeholder management, there is working with the other product people with the vision, and there's a lot of team activities as well. Then what does a product manager do? What's the difference? Well, there's an entire section that I haven't covered here. So product managers, we spoke about the vision. They're really, responsible for the vision, but there's a lot of work that goes on, the problem to solve, right? Like that's a whole topic in itself. That'll take another session, really. So the product manager is really involved in the discovery, talking to users, doing surveys, coming back and doing mind maps and brainstorming, and then really understanding what pains and frustrations. There's a lot of tools that you can use for that, just on that topic. Then they're also doing pricing, right? How do we price the product? So when you go out there and you sign up to something like, just think of a product, any product that requires, Spotify has premium and free plans, right? So Google Music, Apple Music, anything. So the product managers behind that coming up literally just on this commercialization path. What qualifies as a free plan, what qualifies as a premium, and what features should be added in. Then you've got strategy as well. So they've got to look at market, timing, and verticals. So they're really involved in identifying, the types of personas and the types of people that we should be targeting. Should we now go after, older people? Should we now go after younger people? Demographies, things like that. That's, yeah, there's a lot involved there. But the most important thing for a product manager is the product vision. And in our world today, you've got Elon Musk as the probably the world's best product manager. He is not only his marketing his stuff, he's got a vision. He's an entrepreneur. He's actually an engineer. He's doing everything. But without a vision, you don't go to get any. So that's really important. Yeah. I think those are the things that I wanted to cover today. So I may have gone fast, but I think we've got a lot of time. We can talk a lot, and we can actually talk a lot of questions. The last thing I wanted to cover was what tools. And if you've noticed my entire slides today, I really have not talked about tools, because tools are the least important thing when you talk about product. But I want to share a few tools that can be used. So Miro, some of you may use this. It's a really good for brainstorming. It's basically Post-it notes online. You can do a lot with it. Jira, I'm sure everyone's aware, Atlassian software. You can organize your backlog, you can do boards, you can do reports, you can do all the Agile and Scrum stuff in there, which is great. Product board is really good too. Go check out product board. You can create a roadmap, you can create a vision, you can do tagging, segmenting, the whole lot. So these are probably Miro and product board. You can achieve a lot. There are lots of other tools out there. I haven't covered some of the product management tools that you use to actually create a new product. That's a separate topic on its own. That's me. I do have a free class on Skillshare. It's completely free. All you have to do is sign up to a free account on Skillshare. Basically, it's a lot of what I've covered, but there are a couple of aspects that I've not covered in here that class does talk about. So 140 odd students have done my class and have left feedback, mostly all of it positive. So I know it's been useful for a lot of people. So if you want to do that, I can send this. Actually, I'll post this link in the chat. So I'll stop sharing. Did we record this session, by the way? I hope we did.
Yes,
Yeah,
we are recording the session.
Okay, great. Okay, we're recording. Okay, great. I'll stop. Yeah, I'll stop. And
okay, excellent talk here. Thank you so much, Nitin. I think can some questions come from the audience now? I think it's open for discussion.
Let's have a look. I think there are
There is one or two which are more or less similar in nature. I think one is what you already answered. What is product manager? And
oh, there are 80 participants. Okay, that's great. Yep, more people have joined.
One good question is, how do you transition from a services-based model to a product-based model?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, where do I see the question? Sorry, I'm just not able to see the question.
It's on Q&A. If you that tab. If you see.
Oh, okay, it's not opening up for me. Okay, that's okay. So, question on how do you shift? Okay, so what I would do is I would take all the skills that I've learned working in a service-based company and kind of map to what it takes to be a product-based company, and just to to try to make sure that see which ones match, and then see where you have gaps, and keep it simple and take those gaps and go, those are the areas that I want to learn. Basically, if you're coming from a service-based to a product-based, you need to shift your mindset. It's all about mindset shift, because in a service-based, you're told what to do, you're usually given what to do. But in a product mindset, you need to create. So you need to create. So you need to go out and talk to users. So getting really familiar with talking to users, doing surveys. Doing surveys is really good as well. Talking to, even if you have a simple idea that you want to try out, that you want to launch, you might want to do a survey to a number of people and ask a few questions and understand user behavior. That's really important. And yeah,
So I think I'll tell you where this question comes from, because I think a lot of companies have probably delivered a particular solution number of times to various customers on a customized basis. Now they have that domain knowledge and they're wondering, can we do something about it and productize it? I think that's the kind of transition. So it's a company vision and roadmap which they are trying to build along with the product vision and roadmap.
Okay. So is the question the company wants to go from service-based to product-based?
Yes, it's not at an individual level, but it's at an organization.
Yeah, well, that in itself, that would be quite a challenging thing. But what I would do is definitely take a product that you've already launched and see if you can take a small aspect of that and launch an MVP, a beta version to a number of customers, get feedback, and then iterate. Get a product person on there and start and iterate on the features. I think that would be the best way. Don't take the entire product and just launch it. Take a small aspect of it, turn it into a SaaS product, or maybe just turn it into a SaaS product, get some users on there, get some feedback, and launch it. I think that's the best way. And then get a few product people to own the roadmap and own the vision for it.
One slightly provocative statement, I think somebody's made a similar comment there, that think of a company like Apple, which says that we don't believe in customer service, but we know best what the customers want.
Yes.
Okay. Now, in such a case, how challenging will be the role of a product manager?
Oh yeah, so this is a really good question, because some companies like Apple, they have a very design focused way of building their products. They've got a huge design team, and their design team, they do some user testing, but they don't. For example, if you look at your Apple Watch, for those that own an Apple Watch, the rings is a really good concept now, which is copied everywhere. But to actually come up with the concept of the rings, right? From a user point of view, you'd never know that you needed it. That I need to close out a ring, and the concept of that. And what they do is they don't go out and ask for ideas from customers, and a lot of companies now are not doing that. So they have a design team which is very material design focused, and they focus on humans. So what they do is they come up with a number of concepts, and they do user testing, and they place a couple of different ideas in front of maybe say 20 or 30 users, and they tease out important questions like, how do you feel when you saw this versus this, and what it's more about taking the emotions and playing with those emotions, because really that's how humans are really good at. We talk in emotions, right? We're really poor in coming up with new ideas. We can never come up with new ideas. We never knew that we needed an iPad. We're never going to say it needs to look like this, but we will tell you that if I give you this versus this is probably a bit better, because emotionally I feel better, or it works. So a lot of companies are going with spending a lot of time and putting a lot of resources into design teams. So that's it's moving to that direction for sure.
So in such a case, would the product manager's role be a little subordinate to the designer? Because designers dominate, because they will be exacting and they will say, this is what I want. And
yeah, so like I said, so the product manager's role there is a vision. So they still need to say, let's take Apple, in this example, that's the example that's brought up. I need to have a product that's going to basically take the health of a human being to a certain level where they've never got to before, and being able to articulate that vision to the designers and to the engineers, right? And to the engineers as well, as it's a really good thing, because I'll touch why that's important too. If you get the product management wrong, engineers will build anything, but they can solve any problem, right? Because they can use anything, so to any technology. So so product management has to be really, really strong in articulating the product vision. So they've got to be able to say, my product's got to save lives. And when you say something like that, and the engineers go, well, what if it did this, and what if it did this, and the designers go, how can we make the design the user experience so easy that it actually does save them lives. So product management's role is hugely important, very important. But being able to articulate a product vision, that's really hard. It's really hard. I'll give you another example. Elon Musk, where he says his vision is to transform Mars, or his vision is to land the rockets back on the ground without, so we can have reusable rockets. Now you present that as a vision and a challenge to designers and engineers, they'll go away and they'll come up with some great design. So you really need to have a really good vision. So product management's role is really important.
Okay.
Hope that made some sense.
There's a question related to the role of product manager and product owner in a end user organization. So let's say I'm a Tata Group or whatever, and I'm actually not developing the solution. I'm getting it developed from outside, but I do the strategy and the vision for the product and things like that. So
yeah. So in that sense, you're going to be really close to users. You're gonna have a vision of the company, and you're gonna have to be really good at understanding what the users need. And that comes down to if you're building software, or it can be, Tata is such a diverse company. They've got so many different products, right? So doing a lot of sort of what do you call a business model canvas. So being able to do competitive landscape, looking at your competitors on what new products that they're launching, and not necessarily to see how they're launching and what they're launching, but kind of what new products, what different range of products they're launching, and just make sure that and also be really good at verticals. So something I mentioned here as a product person, what type of a product what type of a user are you going after? If I can expand that a little bit, a company I work for, a point of sale company, right? Vend, they're all over the world, 25,000 customers use them. We really wanted to go after homeware, and we really wanted to go after shoe companies, furniture companies, etc. Right? So you really need to understand what target verticals that you want to target. And so that becomes really important.
okay, so there's one generic question. I think number of times a lot of people have asked: how do you move from a BA role to a product role, particularly if you've had no experience of product management, and what should we do to break through that?
Yeah, look, the best way, and this can be the most challenging way. I was a BA before, and I moved into a product role, and the only way I did that was by so my wife and I have launched 2 apps. It's very basic, iOS and web apps that we launched, is to actually spend some time trying something. Create a simple website. Do you have an idea? And if you have an idea, I would take that idea and go, okay, what are the requirements and how can I get requirements, and use your BA skills as much as you can, and actually try and launch something. Because as a product point of view, it's like I said, it's all a mind shift change. So you really need to, when you get there, when you want to move, you're going to be in an organization where they're going to ask you to look at new features. So you've got to already have done that. So if you don't have experience, you've just got to try and launch a couple of products yourself, or just even do a blog, write an article, and just familiarize yourself with the topic, and then actually do a prototype. And there are really some cool tools out there like Figma. You can start designing some, a simple website or an app. There are lots of ways now that you can just create a simple app as well. So if you've got an idea, I would just try and launch it. And that way you'll really get a feel for, wow, I've created something, how am I going to get feedback from my users? I've actually launched something. You may need to learn some technical skills for that, but as a product person, you do need to know a little bit of on the technical side and be able to work with, your team, which would be your engineers. So it's a tough route, but it's a sure route.
So basically what you're saying is you must do something yourself, even if it's not part of the company agenda, so that you have something on your CV first, and
Correct.
Okay, great.
100%.
So one interesting question is, how does a product manager decide when is the next product iteration?
Yeah, so something I didn't cover in this is all about priorities. Should I share a different set of slides? Is that okay?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I can see the Q&A now. Okay, wow. Okay. Okay, wow. There's so many questions. Okay. Uh-huh. Okay, let me see if I can share another slide. Just give me 1 minute, everyone. I will bring up another slide that I had. Just 1 second. This might be it. Can everyone see my screen? Yes, I'm pretty sure you can see my screen. Yep. So the question was, how do I know when to pick the next iteration or piece of the iteration? Is that right?
Yes, yes.
So prioritization is really important. That's also one of the responsibilities of a product person. So you will have, first you need to rely on your roadmap and your vision. So most importantly, your roadmap, if it's, I don't have it here. But like we said in the roadmap before, right? In your roadmap in Q1, you had scalability, and then you had user experience. There may be a time when you might have a priority call to make to say, okay, the next thing I'm going to pick up is user experience, right? But there might be someone from your organization that says, okay, hey, there's a big issue that's gone wrong, and in the app, everyone's affected, and there's a big issue in production. Then you might want to say, actually, user experience is not important. I want to increase the test coverage, and you might want to improve the automation testing to improve the quality of your app. Or another situation might come up where suddenly your ratings start dropping because everyone wants a certain feature, right? And you might want to take that as priority and say, actually, I want to create a new UI. So it needs to be based on something. So you can use data. You can use data points. You can use data points for that, metrics. You can stick to your roadmap. You can prioritize your roadmap based on feedback that you're getting internally. There are a number of ways, but prioritization is really important. So, like I said before, there are items that could derail or delay your vision, like urgent issues, feedback, or changes in the vision. Company suddenly says, right, there's a change in vision, then you might need to change your roadmap. There are a number of reasons why you would kind of prioritize and pick stuff off. That makes sense.
So there's a question which says, how different is this product management and product owner role in an IT company versus a non-IT company? Because I think product management is a very mature field in conventional products. So you look at an FMCG, whatever, the Hindustan Levers of the world have done it for years, This seems to be new in the IT world. So how different would it be?
Yep.
I know you have not worked you've not worked for Hindustan Lever, but I'm just saying you have to imagine.
No. I can totally understand. That's a really good question. So, a product management, I'll take two. So there's like the companies like Hindustan Lever, and there's even like Tata, like where they produce tea and all those kind of products, right?
Correct.
So product management, in that sense, they look after the life cycle of a product. So the packaging, the pricing, the strategy, and marketing. A lot of it overlaps in an IT company. So if you look at Spotify, a Spotify product manager in Spotify might just look at podcasts, for example, and their responsibility is also similar. They need to look at the pricing. Are they making a return on investment on this podcast? product that Spotify has? When can we decommission it? Are people listening to podcasts anymore? Or actually they are. Okay, we need to invest more. No. So those kind of decisions. Strategy, and like I said, verticals, looking at, which kind of customers do we want to target. A lot of those things do overlap, but from an IT point of view, from a product manager, you're responsible for the vision. But from this kind of different manufacturing as well, that's totally different. It's more of the life cycle of the product that you're interested in, and more about stakeholder management. And there are some aspects that overlap, and there are some aspects that don't, basically. But the things that overlap are pricing overlaps, marketing overlaps, life cycle in terms of, yes, should it be decommissioned or should we grow the product, is totally relevant in both industries.
Thank you. So the next one is again very interesting. It says, as a product owner or product manager, do you really have a say in terms of the choice of technology you make? So somebody.
Sorry, I realized I was dark.
Yeah. So maybe they, at the engineering level, they decide to have open source, which may be insecure and things like that. So can you influence really what technology they will use, or will they push you into just talk about functionality and we'll take care of the rest kind of a thing?
Yeah, so that's a good question. So I am right now having that dilemma. If people in the audience know about React and Angular, their frameworks, their frameworks to build out the front end, and this discussion is happening right now. And product is involved in those. So when it's an engineer call, what technologies they use to build the front end, to build out the user experience. But from a product point of view, you're involved because it affects delivery, it affects your team, and it affects, your roadmap and your vision, because it may delay it or it may get it there faster. It might have performance improvements. So you need to ask all those questions from a product point of view to say, hey, wait a minute, you've chosen this thing, which is let's say you've chosen this framework, which is completely new. It's only come up in its 2020 new framework, and no one's, it's very unproven. It's going to affect the vision. It's going to affect the performance. Maybe it's going to have lots of bugs, and who's going to support it? It's going to cost, and do I need to specify? Are we going to maintain it? And all those questions are important to feed that in to say, from my point of view, I don't think this is the right approach. And then it goes up to you may not have 100% influence, but you'll definitely have 20-30% influence to be able to shape that decision.
Great. The other question is this role very scalable in the sense that do I handle more than one product, or like in project management they can do multiple projects? And
yes, very scalable. Sometimes product people are actually given too many products, and usually they're taken away because think about a small startup that grows, and you'll have one product, suddenly you have 10 products, and that product manager, it usually is the other way around. There's heaps of room for growth, but the thing is, successful companies, startups that kind of grow and to become really successful, that's a company thing, right? Depends on the product. So if your company is successful and there's creating lots of products, there's heaps of growth.
And how would you take this to the concept of platforms? So how would you differentiate a product from a platform, and will the role sort of scale up to that?
Platform as a service? I don't understand.
The platform is a more generic form of product, because product is still very defined and in that sense with a roadmap. You think of I want to create a Salesforce, which is not strictly a product anymore. It's a or a Google for that matter. So.
Yeah. So for sure. So the platform as a service. Let me come back to that.
Okay, sure.
Another question. I'll think about
that. There's another question which says, while doing development or on design a product, how to overcome? Okay, we've answered that. So, I like your comment about the mindset part of it. I think that's very important that
Yeah.
each role has a different mindset.
Yeah. I can see here, how is it working with designers, different with working with engineers. So it's look, that's the most important part of it. There are a lot of people call it the triangle. So you've got product one corner, you've got engineering one corner, and design in one corner. What usually happens in a product management environment, you get each of the three pull on each side, right? Because product will go, I want this feature, I want this problem to be solved. Engineering goes, this is the only way to do it. Designers will go, well, this is the only way I want to design it, and it becomes a really big frustration. So compromise needs to happen. So you need to so the product person is almost like a mediator. They need to bring the three parties together and go, look, we need to solve this problem. Can we have the simplest MVP, but sure, we'll achieve the best design. And the engineers will go, well, look, what do you want? Do you want me to build it quickly and have a lot of protected, or do you want to build the best way, but it's going to take so much time? And it's on you to make the call, because essentially it's your product. Yes, they're going to have some input, but that's where the tension becomes. So you really need to build really good relationships with your designers, and make sure that your vision and your roadmap is very clear, and just take your designers through the roadmap, take your engineers through the roadmap. So yeah, it becomes like a mediator type of a role. So it's a very tough thing. There's a lot of things to talk about there that requires its own session. It's a good one.
Sure. So I see a number of my students, I think most probably they are the ones who are asking this. For an MBA, typically, to grow into a product owner or product manager role, is it necessary to go through the rigor of being a technical person first, a business analyst next, and then a product owner? Or
no?
How far does he or she need to know technology?
No. So I can say that I know SQL. I can understand front end. Like I can understand the concepts that are used, because I understand basic website building, HTML, CSS, PHP. I'm not fluent in PHP, but I can do definitely. The one thing that is important from a product role is data analysis. So SQL is really important, right? Or SQL, or any form of being able to take some data out and being able to report on it. That's really important, because you're going to be looking at data a lot, because that's going to help you inform decisions. And then another thing from a technical, you need to be able to be in a room where there are two engineers, it could be back end and front end, and you're saying, hey, I want to build this thing, right? Which could be a page that has a button and that does this, and it goes off and it registers the user's details, and it basically submitting. When the user logs in, they creates the email address and logs in, right? And the back end and the front end engineer is having a discussion. You need to be able to grasp it and understand what's happening. You don't need to know technically how to do it, but you need to be able to understand it. So understanding REST, JSON, all of those things help. Understanding a little bit of front end does help, but you don't need to be able to code. No, you don't. But being able to manipulate data, taking data out, being able to use tools like Google Analytics, Mixpanel, if any of you have used them, Salesforce, yep, obviously any of the Atlassian tools, that's enough.
Yeah, but I guess you should know technology enough to be able to carve a niche for your product in the market, because many a time the difference in sustainability of a product lies in the platform to which you have committed. So maybe you decided to build for Apple as iOS as opposed to something else.
Yeah.
Then maybe your choice might be right or wrong. So
yeah,
to that
correct.
extent, you should understand which is the horse which will win. You should understand. So
yes, well said. Yeah, that's right.
okay.
Wow, there's
Okay,
so many.
there are many more questions. How much are you good on time, or how is it?
Yeah, I mean, I'm good on time.
Okay.
We can try and answer a few more.
Yeah.
I can see Priyanka's.
So Priyanka herself has given a question. So what are the distinct differences between product development and product management? I think in part you've already explained it. is PO responsible for throughout both sides, or we have different people for these two functions?
Yeah, in some companies, different people. Like I said, in some companies, they expect the PO/PM because they can't afford another role. Um, yeah, so I've seen roles where one person's doing everything: the project management, product ownership, and the it's almost impossible, but they're put in that position. So that happens. It happens.
Right. Are
How
there
would
any
you?
documents and checklists? I think this is
Oh,
something from a
yes.
practice perspective.
Yes.
What sort of specific documents? So maybe that product vision might be a document, as you're saying. So.
Yeah, so there are a number of things. So there is, from a product management point of view, there's a thing called jobs to be done. That is not a checklist, but it's a way of writing out what the user's job that they're doing. So I'll just explain this is really important from a product management point of view. Um, if you look at the app Evernote, I don't know, it's an app, note-taking app, right?
Yes, yes.
The really the product management's role is to understand the jobs to be done, right? So the job to be done is, as a user, I want to be able to take quick notes while I'm talking to while I'm on a conference, and I want to be able to save it, and because it saves me time and blah blah blah. And that kind of simple instruction of what a user is doing, what a job to be done. Or it could be something like, I need to quickly save that information so that I can send it off in an email. And that's a job that they do over and over again. Those kind of jobs to be done statements are really important in building out a product. That's really important. User stories as a template, so that I can, that template, or even given when then, because you'll be working with testers, and testers need really clear instructions on what user stories you're building and what exactly the features is going to do. So when I click this button, it does this, and I expect this to happen, and then this will happen, so that they can also build their test cases, right? It's really important. So that's a template. What else is a template? Let me think. So there are templates for running A/B tests. So as a product person, you may want to do A/B tests. You may be launching one page that might have a button and one page that doesn't have a button. And to have templates, you will need a template to go, okay, what is the goal that I'm trying to achieve with this? What am I expecting? And how am I going to monitor it? So that's really important as well. So that's important. There are a few more things. Maybe I can type them down and I can, send them, create an artifact.
Is there any resource which you could refer to where they could find some template section? Okay.
Yep.
That will be great.
Yeah.
Is there any metric for product ownership as a process? How do you measure success, let's say?
It's a really good question. There are a number of ways, right? It's the velocity of your team if you're doing agile, if you're doing scrum as well, right? So the velocity and the output of your team, but also how many story points are estimated if you're doing sprints. I'm sure some of you will be doing sprints in a 2-week sprint. If you think about it, how do you actually measure a product person? You go, well, when you're doing refinement sessions, it's the product owner's role to bring the team together and go, hey team, we want to refine these things because we want to get these things done. And the responsibility of the product person is to actually write down the user stories and everything, and it's got to be in a good place for them to estimate it. So if they estimate it, job well done. And you can measure the weekly number of story points, or the story points per refinement session. That's a really good measure. You can then do velocity, but then you can also do from a product owner/management point of view, it's the feedback from your customers and the feedback from your internal team. Qualitative measures: how happy is your team? You can do that in retrospectives. It's very subjective, but you can still measure it.
As a product owner, this is, I think I'm probably clubbing a couple of questions which are towards what are the sort of tentacles that the product manager has or product owner has that he can sense what's happening to his product outside, because he's actually at the back end of everything, and the product is there out. The sales guys know about it and what's happening in the market.
Yeah. That's a really good question, and that's, I think I mentioned in one other side. You need to be, so you need to have, as a product person, you're a people person, so you need to have good relationships with your customer service team, your sales team, your marketing team, and it's essentially there are tools like Zendesk. Zendesk is a tool a lot of SaaS companies use where users can send in feedback,
Sure.
right? Yep. So reviewing Zendesk feedback, actually this needs to be like, if in your weekly calendar, you need to have 1 hour blocked in your week just to go through all the Zendesk reviews. And then you might need to block out some time with the sales guys every month. What's the feedback that we're hearing from the market? Why is my product selling? Our competitors coming up with new stuff that users are, kind of moving away from our product. So yeah, there are a lot of different ways.
So would you also do a direct connect with a customer or a market research, for example?
Oh, yep. You would, yeah, and then obviously you need to have, you need to be visiting your customers. As a product manager, you need to be visiting your customers. So when I was working at Venn, I used to visit store owners, maybe once a month. Depending on how much time I had, sometimes I'd do it once every 2 weeks. Go out there, what's happening, how's it going? Have you had any issues recently? Getting direct feedback, yeah, from customers.
I have this peculiar question. For example, there are some established products, you call them incumbents, and every time a new technology comes, they are more jazzy. For example, Zoom is far better than a WebEx.
Yes.
But WebEx is a more reliable workhorse, so to speak,
Yes.
because it's been there and established. But as a product manager in WebEx, I must be getting a feeling that, I have lost out, because I can neither change, and must be very frustrating, right?
Yeah.
Because you have no control over the technology, and you're committed to it. So
yeah, and yeah, so your question is kind of how do you deal with that?
Correct. That's right.
And yeah, so disruption is happening to a lot of companies. You look at Netflix and Blockbuster, right? Blockbuster, renting DVDs. Netflix CEO came to him and said, "Hey, I want to, I propose this business model," and he laughed him off. And then, streaming was early at that time, but then streaming took off, right? And they're no more. You look at iTunes when that launched, and Virgin Records and the CDs, that's gone now. No one's going to a store and buying CDs, right? So from a product owner point of view, that's why you need to be really, really, really in sync with your customers' frustrations. And this is what Steve Jobs did really well. He got on stage and then he said, he pulled out, he basically described how he came up with the iPod in a matter of minutes. Actually, it didn't take him long, but not everyone can think like that, and that's the difference. But he basically said, who wants to have a big CD player in the pocket and only listen to 20 songs, and then also when you're walking it skips? Horrible. And so being able to have that kind of insight to go, that's a pain point that our customers are having. So if you're a Salesforce person and you're in touch with your customers and everyone's saying, I just don't like the look and feel of it. WebEx, right? When I click on it, it just doesn't work. It's so hard to set up. Like, why should it be so hard to set up? And then being able to go, oh, okay, so what they really want is a one-click button, link opens, that's it. Like, that's what they really want. And be able to quickly create a vision on that and quickly work with engineers to say, hey, look, our customers are saying it's not working. We need this, and here's how it should work. And then being able to build out a beta version really quickly and trying it out is important. So depends on how agile you are to catch the pains and frustrations and turn them into real solutions, and then sort of grow on it is really important. And it's not easy. It's actually probably one of the toughest things, and very few people in the world do it really well, right? Yeah.
Because I think you're saying two things. One is your ability to forecast that you're reaching a dead end with your existing product, and then be able to quickly start building those jazzy features on a new platform and re-engineering that entire product on a new platform, perhaps. So
Yeah.
It requires a lot of foresight, yeah, I guess.
Yeah, it does. And that's why I was saying, someone asked a question, jobs to be done, like the templates, jobs to be done is really, really, really important, because a lot of jobs to be done. Yeah, in any business, in any company, in any business, and the users and how they're using it, there's lots of gaps. And if you can identify those gaps and quickly build a product and test it, you're away.
I think we run through all the questions, and you've done a
Okay.
wonderful job of answering them. Actually, it's been a
one last
one.
word.
Yeah,
Swami
please.
here.
Yes.
Yeah. Actually, Dr. Pensay, and it's a very interesting question. Just one thing I just want to share my perspective about, the difference between a platform and a product was a
Right.
question. But,
Yes.
no, I just, correct me wrong, Nitin, that,
Yep.
what I feel is that the platform is a service, as the doctor put it very clearly, but where to monetize multiple products and integrate as a service, we put it into platform. For example, we can take Zoom itself as a platform, or Uber as a platform,
Yep.
and it may have a payment gateway as a product, and then providing the service like we create a location map. Different location locating the people, that may be a one complete product. So the multiple products will be integrated in the platform, and then monetize as a service, and one way it deliver value to the user, the end user. At the
Yes.
same time, it provide them what the profitability or the revenue to the revenue stream for the. That's what I feel the difference between the platform and the product. So what
Yeah,
you
yeah.
feel?
Yep. Another way to look at it is you can white label products, right? So that you can create you can create a platform as a service. So you might create a product, and then you realize that actually anyone can use this. I'll just bundle it up, white label it, and it's a package in SDK. A lot of companies create SDKs, and they sell that off, and people just take that SDK, change the brand, apply it, sell it, and then they start using it, right? So you can do that as well. So that's also another way to do it.
Okay, there's a question, but I think it's already answered. But you may want to just say it once again. What's the difference between a BA and a product owner? I think his whole presentation was about that. So
Yeah.
if you wish to summarize quickly, so
Yeah.
that's the last question we are taking.
So look. Yeah, it is good to cover that again. So I've been a BA before, and I was saying that it's about a mindset. So BA mindset, right? You've got to be. It's all about getting the detail right, and it's all about making sure that you understand essentially how things work at a fundamental level of whatever that you're solving. So it could be that you're creating a form and it needs to have certain fields, or it could be that there's a insurance product and the user needs to submit a quote, and then they need to accept the quote, and then so you need to build out a flow chart, and you basically know what the user is doing, and the technical aspects, right? That's one aspect. So product ownership, that you need to be able to do that, but you also need to be able to understand sort of all the things that I covered in the thing is understand being able to create a roadmap, be able to create a backlog, work with your product people, and work with the team to start delivering it and making sure you're aligning them. So BAs also might be involved in some of that, which is good. Yeah, product ownership is kind of owning the product from end to end, and BA is kind of owning the solution from end to end, if I can say that. Mindset very similar, but yeah, you need a slightly bit of a people mindset as well with the product ownership, not just solution mindset, if that makes sense. I hope that answered it.
So I think we come to an end to this wonderful session. I think it was really quite an eye opener in terms of the role and scope and the interfaces with others and things like that. So thank you so much, Nitin. I don't know what time is it. Is it like a decent time for you now? It must be about 3 o'clock, or what is it?
No, it's at 6 p.m. Yeah.
Oh, 6 p.m. Okay. So it's like end of the day for you. But thanks so much once again. And I think we really would love to see you again, either on this forum, or I'll also personally send you some invites and let us see
Sure.
how we can interact on this.
Sure.
Can I request all the panelists to come up with their cameras on so that we can just take a group pic?
Group pick. Oh, okay. I've never done this online group pick. I just want to say to all the participants, thank you.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
also, I've sent out a link, and that's my free Skillshare link. Please, yeah, it's
Yes.
free. You can watch it. And I've also got 3 more classes. If you would like, if you don't have premium membership on Skillshare and you would want free links, you can contact me on LinkedIn and I'll flick you the link as well. So.
And I think thank you from
can
our
just,
side also. Yeah, from
you can
the.
share this.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
can just share this and I mean to Priyanka or someone, and definitely will share it.
Okay.
Correct, correct, correct. So thanks to all the participants for joining, and I think we had a fairly good number and really happy. And please do join and stay in touch. If you've not registered because you directly got the link, please send a mail to Meenakshi Agarwal so that your information will be on a record. We'll send you invites. Not all of you may be IIBA members, so you may not get the information. So please write to us. Yeah? Thank you so much. And I think the recording is being done. So maybe Meenakshi, you might want to share the recording link also to people so that those who missed it, etc., they can.
I'll do that. Thank you.
That's your son, yeah. Okay, so.
I'm sorry for that.
No problem.
That's okay. No, that's the way we have to run our sessions.
Swami, you want to come up, and Priyanka, you want to put your video on? We'll just take a click.
Me, Priyanka?
Yeah, yeah.
Or me?
Yes. Both.
I think I cannot see whether I'm part of panelist.
I can see you as part of the panel.
So you can see me like Meenakshi.
Yeah, just switch on your video if you can, so, Priyanka. Swami is appearing twice, one in person and one as a photograph.
Okay, I think I'm not getting that this thing. Just a second.
Yeah,
You can see mute and mute, but I cannot see the other side.
No.
Are you seeing the video?
No. That is where I'm wondering, because I'm not very much well versed with Zoom, but I cannot see the video sign.
Oh, I see. Okay. I don't know. Swami, would you have the control for this?
Yeah. I mean, I'll just see Priyanka. Just give me a minute.
Yeah, sure. Please.
You can create some memory at least.
I think.
Thank you, Nitin, for the wonderful session. We got to learn a lot.
And thank you for having me. I hope it was useful. I know I covered lots of topics and things.
No, I think.
Now, can you make it? Priyanka, can you make it now?
Along with what you spoke, which was very crisp and to the point, and the Q&A really brought out a lot of insights, really, I mean, in that sense. Which sometimes, even in a presentation, it's difficult to put forward because it's a little more clinical in that sense. The spontaneous response that you gave was so from the heart. So you really have a deep understanding of that subject. So.
Okay.
Priyanka, can you try now?
Yeah, I'm trying. But it is giving me failed to start. Not sure what it is. It is my own.
Yeah. I think the challenge at your end, it looks like.
It will be. So I think let's take a photo for as it is. So Swami, you want to come up?
Yeah. 1 minute.
Yeah, please. So Priyanka, sometimes what happens is some other application might have captured your camera. So if you go to the taskbar below and look at the options there, you'll find some application might be running which you can close and maybe your camera starts.
Okay. Now I got it. Somewhere else I was stuck.
Correct. Okay.
Great.
Great.
Thank you so much, sir.
So Swami ji, aap aaiye. Thank you. I'll just take a quick snap.
No, 1 minute.
Oh,
Screenshot, is it?
Yeah, screenshot. Even otherwise, it will get recorded. So This is webinar mode. Otherwise, you could have taken participant photos. But
Give me a minute.
yeah.
Yeah.
So there you are. Great.
Yes.
Smile. There you are. Thank you so much.
Oh, missed it.
One more. You can do
No,
that.
no, it's fine.
Yeah. Go ahead. Okay. Hold on. Thank you.
Bit of fun, right? After all the
Yes.
seriousness.
Correct. So thanks once again, and we say bye to everyone, and hope to see you again for the next edition of IIBA Mumbai chapters webinars.
Cool.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Nitin,
Thank you for
Thank
having
you.
me.
Nitin, I just
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Nitin, by any chance you have your WhatsApp number? Connect me with the WhatsApp number.
Sure.
I'll connect you to the community also.
Okay, sure.
My chapter, if possible, I'll add you to the chapter. Continue to wherever there is a possibility, you can start giving you can share your ideas and this.
Sure. Yep.
Okay. So shall we call it a day then? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Bye.
Okay. So bye.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you,
Bye,
everyone.
Priyanka.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
And practice your mobile phone now, Priyanka. So.
Thank you,
Big job.
participants as well. Thank you so much.
Big
Bye.
job. Yes. Bye.
Bye.